realtors are just kind of spending way too much time and energy doing it themselves.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I gotta create this new video and I gotta do this, and it's, I'm like, did you go any fucking listing appointments this week? Or like, did you meet any buyers this week?
Yeah.
Or, well, no, I was filming this video. It took me a week. Okay, good.
Yeah, 100%. I think that you can't, I've kind of had this slogan that I've been rolling with, because I've done a lot of research on the tech side and kind of understanding, like looking at different gaps in, prop tech, like real estate software technology, like, where are the gaps at and where is it going? And I've been kind of saying this for like last couple of years, but I feel like the teams are the future of the business.
Oh yeah.
And I
Big
think,
time.
I think there was an event we went to with Rob Golfi recently.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were there, but Josh was running it, the one for housing cooperative.
Yes.
But that's what he said. He's like, even if you're a solo agent, just put the team after your name and roll with that, because and I really do believe the teams are the future of the business, because the brokerages are fabulous and every brokerage has different aspects to it. It's just, I always find that because the brokerage are generally at scale, it's hard to provide that business support for the agent, right? So that team is sort of that intermediary that is able to really zone in on the business, zone in on the things that matter.
That's true.
And those teams generally, you're able to give that focus and attention to providing, to be able to have those services. But so that's kind of the idea. I think that in terms of moving forward, is that the teams are kind of the future of the business. And
the brokerage's value add is just getting smaller and smaller.
I don't agree with that. But
well,
go
from
ahead.
what I mean is from the perception of the agent, because if you go and interview at a brokerage or you go and interview at a team, the difference between what the value add is from the team and the brokerage is completely different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a completely different.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we have, all the people that I interview on a weekly basis, they're like, yeah, but tell me about teams. Why do I need to be on a team? Why is everybody talking about a team? So it's really interesting how things are going. I feel like teams are attracting agents to brokerages, not the other way around.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a shift happening.
Yeah. You were at the Kathleen, you were at an event recently, right? Yesterday? Or the day before?
Yeah, I was just there to run the booth for our brokerage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay. So you didn't go to any seminars or anything like that? Did you? No?
No.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
I've been to that one a few times.
Yeah.
Very, very helpful. Kathleen's awesome. But, we have the way we're doing things now, and we're obviously open to interpretations and advice, but it's like everything's kind of working. So we're trying not to fill our heads with too much outside information. It's working. We're heads down, buckling up, because next year, who knows what next year is going to be like now.
Yeah. I like that though. I like that you guys have a flow going and you're zoned in, right? I think that's really important. Even just from a single agent perspective or from a team perspective, it's like if you got the process and something's working,
like we do outside training all the time. It's just this one is a teams-based summit, and I wanted to make sure that we stuck to our plan. Mm-hmm. It's easy to get caught up when you see Mark Ferris or Rob Golfi and they're doing something that's working for them, and you're like, that's fucking awesome. But I just don't think we could start doing that right now. Mm-hmm. And we're doing well, so let's work on it behind the scenes before all the agents get worked up. Because you know how the average agent is, right? They're like, oh, that sounds good. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's do this. I'm like, all you need to do is pick up your phone. Like, really, at the end of the day, pick up your phone, make those value add calls, those home equity calls. That's all you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it. I think I saw one of your recent reels, and you were kind of talking about how you were picking up your phone on like a weekend or something like that, and that just got me thinking about all the agents that sometimes you'll call and they won't pick up their phones, or like they're really hard to get a hold of, right?
Yeah.
And then I thought about the fact that, like, your local salon, obviously business hours, but you're guaranteed a pickup. Like they're gonna pick up their phone.
Exactly.
Like all these, like some they're doing haircuts or whatever the service is, like we're selling $1 million homes, and there's a ton of agents that don't even pick up their phone call, the phone. So
I know. And I'll tell you, are we rolling?
Yeah.
Holy shit, we
rolling.
are?
Yeah, let's go.
I love it. I like how you just do the easy transition.
Let's go, yeah.
So I'll tell you why I do that. For one, because I got a lot of hate after that, all right? I had like 2 of the top teams in Canada, the owners reach out to me like, Andrew, you're way better than this. Your time is valuable.
Yeah.
Your clients need to know that. And number one, my number's not on any marketing. My number's not on for sale signs. It's not on Google. It's not on, Facebook or whatever. So if somebody has gotten my number, it's through a qualification process of some kind. And what I mean by that is that it's by a referring agent. It's by a referring client, right? So I want to make sure that if they've, if somebody's trusted me enough to give out my number, that I'm going to be the one who's going to answer it and quickly. So, and then the other thing is it's a passive marketing jab, because I know people in my market don't answer the damn phone. So I'm just hoping that comes across, some seller that's pissed off because their agent hasn't been answering their phone calls. It happens a lot where I come from. We're still a small town in Niagara-on-the-Lake. So, as I add people to my network through hockey, community events, my kids go to school now, right? So you're adding the parents to Facebook. They get a hold of this video and say, holy crap, these Niagara-on-the-Lake agents never answer their damn phone. If I want to sell my house, my parents told me horror stories about this guy, and I want to make sure I use Andrew next time. So it's yes, to get a point across that you should be doing your damn job and answering your phone, because at the end of the day, we have that reputation to just be like, oh, realtors, we make so much money, so we'll answer our damn phone whenever we want.
Yeah.
Right, which is not the case.
And I think, it's true, because if you're busy and you're on appointments and obviously work-life balance, you're not going to be able to pick up the phone all the time. But I think that's where, and it kind of goes back to our conversation of the team and, the brokerage. I guess they have the they can pick up the phone calls and take the messages and all that. But I think, having a proper phone setup where people can call and get some good service, right? From that perspective, and I think that's where the team really comes, in handy, because obviously you have your systems in place to be able to take those phone calls and not only just direct them, but be able to provide some service, right?
Well, the thing is that we're coming out of the Google economy, let's call it, where everything you want is at your fingertips.
Yeah.
And if I don't answer my phone, somebody else is gonna.
100%.
And then somebody might be like, yeah, well then that lead wasn't meant for you. Bullshit. That lead was meant for me. I just didn't answer my phone fast enough. So there's no, unfortunately, it's sad to say, but there's no, until you build trust with somebody anyways, there's no loyalty really anymore. So you have to work your ass off for it. So just because, yours was the first website to pop up doesn't mean that the leads owe you anything. But on another effect, we have our admin phone, which goes home with one of our admins after hours, and they get paid $50 an hour for every hour that they work after hours. So usually it alternates. That phone goes home with one person one night, and then so on and so forth. Alternate weekends. And so that way, if it's not my phone, it's the team line, it's always getting answered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then those are the agents picking up the phone.
No, it's our admin
Admins.
team.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, our admin or our director of ops. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and then there's a qualification process. Like, okay, what are you looking for? How can we help you? And then we divide it to the best agent for the job.
That's it. But that's what I'm saying is with that team infrastructure, you're able to have those resources, right? And that's why I think it's a very difficult playing field for a solo realtor. In terms of doing it, because unless you're producing a lot and you can have all those resources and invest in all those resources, but at that point you probably have a team with a few people, so it essentially is a team, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's become so competitive and it's so much value add for the customer that now we're providing, because this is the new landscape that I think just the team is kind of the future in terms of the business.
It is, and we collaborate every single Monday. We have a team meeting. We have daily check-ins every morning at 8 and every afternoon at 4. And we're constantly keeping each other up to date with what's going on in the market, because, you know, you can go from a solo agent, and then this is just painting, you know, a very general brush, but let's just say a solo agent who might not, you know, have the most expertise, most experience, and, you know, they're kind of allowing the seller to dictate the list price, the marketing, the this, that, and then next thing you know, they've overpriced the property and it's on the market for 300 days, and that, people don't realize this, but that one house that you just overpriced, it affects your neighbor, it affects the market overall, because now the neighbor goes to the next agent and says, well, my neighbor's listed at 1.5, I want to list at 1.6, I've got a way better house. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's just not how it works. And then you might have a super team that says, yeah, sure, we'll list it at 1.6, no problem. They don't care, because they have a marketing vehicle behind them that every listing, doesn't matter if it sells, because they're using it, you know, to attain leads, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying there is when you're lying to the consumer about what their home is worth.
Yeah.
And so that's why we like to keep our team up to date on an ongoing basis, so that our team, if they go into those situations, they could say, look, we would love to work with you. Here's the reality of where your market value is. And if this isn't something that you're interested in doing, I'm okay with that. We unfortunately won't be able to take this listing, but if anybody else is kind of telling you that your property's higher, they're most likely buying the listing.
Yeah.
And so we want you to do whatever you feel comfortable in doing, but just know that, you know, we don't need to lie to get the sale.
Yeah.
And the market, and that's the biggest thing right now, is that at the end of that listing presentation right now, a seller's either going to say, you know what, Andrew, you're right, let's list it. You know, you're absolutely right, I'm okay with this price. Or, Andrew, you're right, I shouldn't list now because I'm not going to get what I want.
Exactly, yeah.
So then we'll list it in a year.
Yeah.
And then you keep them on a very strict advisory follow-up plan. Where, you know, it's just people just don't understand the damage that overlisting properties actually do.
I just thought about that too, and like, and you're right, like the side effects of the neighbors and the other listings, and then it's like the side effects, because we're seeing this all the time now, like the side effects of, we've had a couple situations where, you know, you overprice, and then not only do you not maybe take an offer that you're not happy with, but then you take an offer lower than that, right? You know, like, yeah. So we're seeing a lot. So it's like, because of some, you know, some poor decision making and some bad judgment, now, you know, you're affecting the outcome of all these situations, right? Just because of overpricing, right? So, like, most recently, I've gone to the point where, like, and I've had these conversations, and sometimes the sellers are just so, you know, so I guess adamant about certain things, but like I try to go as hard as possible to tell them, like, listen, this is what it is, and you know, this is our professional advice, and you're not going to get more, you know, you're not going to, you know, in my professional opinion, you're not going to attain more than this. And really, like, drill that, you know, through them. And as much as, like, you know, sometimes you don't feel comfortable doing that because, you know, you don't know, like, maybe, you know, I guess in the way the market was before, right? It's like you can attain some of these prices, and the market was kind of wild. So it's like you had that factor of, like, you know, maybe.
You never know.
But now, because I've seen some situations where people, you know, maybe you weren't as aggressive in saying, like, this is a really good offer, and they didn't take it, and then they've sold for less. It's like, now I've, like, one of the biggest things I've kind of committed to is just communicate that. And even if I lose the listing or whatnot, like, I don't want them losing. So that's more important to me in the situation, is if I really look at the market and say, and do my proper comparative market analysis, and I really don't think we're going to get more than this, then I just want to make sure we communicate that to the seller.
Exactly.
And it's hard. And, you know,
well, it is, because it's usually their largest investment, right? Usually all their savings is locked up in their household. But you know, this is why we do too, because the CMA, you know, your market analysis, the way the market is trending down, just because a home sold at 1.5 in your neighborhood doesn't mean that yours is now worth 1.5. Because when did it firm up? You could have caught somebody who's been looking for 6 months and they're just tired and they're like, whatever, I'll just buy this, it's fine. There's so many different variables right now that even if a home sold in your neighborhood 3 weeks ago at 1.5, the market conditions have changed so much on a day-to-day that yours could even be lower than that.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing we were talking about recently at a team meeting was, the most important thing right now is the motivation and the flexibility.
Yeah, is it
right?
a want or a need?
Yeah, if you don't have the motivation and the flexibility as a seller, it becomes very difficult to sell, right? Because if you have a certain expectation and you're not really motivated and flexible on that, then it becomes really hard to make that sale. So one of the things we were talking about is, before we list a property, let's get 2 or 3 people on the team to do the CMA and see what we come up with. And if the list price is not, the median of all 3 or the average, then we got to have a conversation, because it's tough right now in terms of the market and really being able to, figure out that price that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And going back to, call it crazy a little bit, but even a feeling, right? So I have a pretty good gut reaction as soon as I walk into the house. I'm like, okay, I know exactly what somebody's willing to pay for this. It's a little hard to communicate that, right? Say, hey, I just got a feeling. But so what we do is at the bottom of our CMA is we find out how much they sold for, bought for, the year they bought it, what we feel they could sell for now, and we do it on the low end, the conservative end, and then we say, okay, well, you've just made 500 grand in 2 years. That's 250 grand a year. That's better than anybody has ever done in real estate in the last 50 years. So what is this not enough for you? You know what I mean? Like, you're doubling your money now. And so that helps put things in perspective too.
But that's not possible in today's day. Like 250, like right now, like you're probably down 250 a year from 2 years ago.
Well, let's just say if they bought in 2021 or 2020, and they got in at a good time, got a good deal, and this was all just for storytelling purposes. But for a better example then would be, okay, I bought in 2019.
Yeah, like if you got to go 4 or 5 years back for that math to make sense. Yeah. Like we're running into sellers that bought a couple years ago and they're selling for less.
Exactly. Right? So then you could do it again. Okay, well, if you wait till next year and we follow down this trend, this is how much you're going to be losing by next year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting market. And I think, I don't know how much you've been studying the TRESA regulations. It's something interesting because a lot of people, it's like it's on the radar, but it's not for the industry, and we know it's coming. But I'm gonna do a podcast on it next week with a couple brokers that have the inside view of it. Yeah. But it's big. It's big, and it's coming December 1st, and I think it's gonna have a huge impact on the operations. But I think overall, like with with kind of this market turn and obviously a lot of agents saying, hey, it's either, leaving the industry because it's hard. I think we're going to end up with a higher quality pool of realtors in the industry.
Yeah, I see that same thing. I mean, if you look at what's happening in the States, with the home seller lawsuits and now the buyer lawsuits coming in. Yeah. Man, I mean, there's a reason why there's buyer agencies, because there's so many goddamn lawsuits in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And, in Canada, buyer agency just came in in the 90s, I think. And in the UK and Australia, there's no buyer agency. So you're at, every deal is a double end. So think about how conflicting that is, right? So let's just say we lose buyer agency. Now everybody has to come to the listing agent. Now the listing agent, as opposed to fighting for a 5% or a 6% commission, is now fighting for a 2%, a 2.5. So now there's way more room for discount brokerages to come in. We're gonna have the same issues. At the end of the day, you can sell your house by yourself right now, and you can buy a house by yourself right now. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. You don't have to use a realtor, but 95% of all people, choose to hire a realtor and there's a reason for that. And so, history kind of repeats itself. But let's just say that does happen, and then it spills off into the Canadian real estate industry, where now there's no buyer agents. Okay, so half the people are going to lose the industry, because look at the top 100 people, or the top 10, top 0.1%. Look at who's controlling the listing, and it's a very small pool of agents that are controlling the listings. So you cannot make a living off doing 1 or 2 listings a year and not working with any buyers. So you're right. I think a lot of people are going to be leaving the industry. It's not going to be worth it for them. But what does it mean for the bigger teams, for the brokerages moving forward?
Yeah. The cream's going to rise to the top. I think that's the saying.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about Niagara. I'm a big fan of Niagara.
Yeah.
Honestly, the majority of my experience has been in the falls, going for trips there, but kind of meeting people in Niagara and getting to know them and doing some deals in Niagara now, and kind of, I always love driving around small towns. Let's talk about Niagara.
Yeah.
I know you're a big winery guy. You got a book specifically on wineries. Tell me a little bit about that.
So my dad and I wrote this book called Niagara, A Wine Lover's Guide. It's actually #1 on Amazon right now. You can get it there. But
that's amazing, man. Congrats.
The idea, thanks. The idea of it was, the level of service that we provide real buyers and sellers. A lot of our business is from people moving out of their market into ours.
Yeah.
Right. So it just started with a simple $5 bakery gift certificate. It's like, hey, welcome to Niagara on the Lake, because the prices are, I wouldn't say as high as Burlington, but basically, we have an average price point right now of 1.2 million, right? For the rest of Niagara, that's very, very, very high. But most of the deals there, if you want anything good, are above 2 million. So how do you sell a $2 million house in the middle of a farmer's field, with little to no amenities? We've got one grocery store, Phil's, which is great, but it doesn't always have everything you want. So how do you sell it? You have to sell the lifestyle, right? So what I was noticing is, obviously everybody was moving here because of the wineries. So I said, why don't we create a book? It has my name on it. It's got my photo on it. It will help create more of an authority of a Niagara on the Lake kind of the go-to guy.
That's it.
So then we developed the book, and now we hand it to all of our sellers and all of our buyers.
Yeah.
And so what we found was that, not only does that help our clients feel a little bit more comfortable moving an hour to 2 hours away, but it also, when we have listings, we drop it off the buyers that bought the house. Said, hey, welcome to Niagara on the Lake. If you didn't know, here's all the 88 wineries that you can go travel to.
Yeah. And
we've ranked them, we've tasted them, and they seem to love it a lot.
I love it. Can you give me a quick top 5, in your perspective, wineries? Just because I honestly don't. I know a couple. We usually do a Christmas wine. Branded Christmas wine. Last year we did it with a Niagara winery, but other than that, I'm not familiar. So what do you recommend?
Okay, so my wife's father owns a winery.
Okay,
so it's called Paradiso.
Gotta be #1.
It is, because it's also the best tasting. It really is.
Yeah.
Now, second would be Two Sisters.
Sorry, what was it called? The first one?
Paradiso Estate Winery.
Paradiso.
Yeah, it's right off the highway.
What is it?
By the Niagara on the Lake outlets, Niagara College.
Okay.
No.
Paradiso. It has nothing to do with Paradiso in Hamilton.
No,
right?
No.
Okay.
They almost did a collaboration, actually, but and then Two Sisters. Two Sisters is a very, very elegant winery where you're gonna bring a date or an anniversary, something like that. It's really beautiful, high quality food, high quality wines. The reason why I like it so much is they actually used to use our family wine. And so maybe that's why the taste appeals to me so much. And then #3 would be Rife. Rife Estate Winery is right off of the Niagara River Parkway. It's very heavy wine as well, similar to ours, and that's why I like it. I personally try to stay away from the bigger brands just because I like a more small batch wine. So I wouldn't be able to give you my top 5, but that's definitely my top 3.
Those are the top 3. Got you. I like that. That's good. I'm planning a little road trip. I've been planning it with my kids.
Yeah.
I've been talking to them about it. We're gonna go this weekend, but we're gonna go to the cottage. But if I was to take the kids out for a road trip to Niagara, give me a few stops.
So Niagara on the Lake won't be the most fun.
Just Niagara in general.
Yeah.
For the kids.
Yeah.
Like some Lego stops or something. What's the?
But Niagara on the Lake does have a double wide storefront. That's a Christmas store. So it's all just Christmas stuff.
All year?
All year round. The kids love it. They go crazy. And there's also toy shops. There's also
Niagara on the Lake?
Yep. Toy shops. And oh man, it's like anything you can think of all around the world. Global, like candy, chocolates, and little knickknacks. So, and they also have, I think there's like 10 ice cream spots, 2 gelato spots. So there's definitely things for your kids to do there that, revolves around sweets and shopping. But if you go further down the Niagara Parkway as you go into Niagara Falls, there's the Bird Emporium. So, there's a bunch of, exotic birds or butterfly conservatory.
I like that.
Yeah. So, and then you go into Clifton Hill where the kids go nuts for all that stuff.
Got it. That's awesome. That's good to know. I'm going to plan that trip. I know you mentioned that when you started your team, there were some pitfalls and some learning experiences, and you got through that, and now obviously you're doing really well. I heard this. So this is one of your most successful years this year, right? On the team.
Absolutely.
So that's amazing, man, and especially in this market, that's huge. Congratulations on that, man.
Thanks.
That really I know how much work that takes, and so that's amazing. But tell me maybe about like those pitfalls and what was like the key factors to getting the engines running on the team and really stabilizing.
Yeah, so I think the biggest, if I had to, bring it down to one thing, it was finances. Like you join a team for support, right?
People don't realize it.
Exactly. So finances is number 1 and operations was number 2. So I didn't have any systems in place that made it easier for an agent to be an agent and transact. In fact, we were all just kind of flying by the seat of our pants where we didn't even really know what to do at any given time. So it just wasn't, it was bad leadership, no systems, and of course we didn't have any capital to fund things like lead generation activities, whether it be printing off marketing material, whether it be actually hiring a lead generation company or going to events. And now we have that investment, right? So now we can go buy the booth at the home show. We can go buy, 200 cookies to hand out with our logo on it. We can buy swag. We can buy marketing materials, and it's just a collective team effort to get all that out there. Where at the first team, when it blew up, it was obvious I was just kind of doing it as an ego thing,
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it's like, as much as we said the future of real estate is teams, like if there was something you can give to somebody thinking about starting a team, what would that be?
I would think you would have to find yourself in, and some people have, conflicting opinions about this, but what I would say is find yourself a really good licensed assistant who wants to, you might not have an office yet. Obviously I prefer working in person, but find somebody that is fine to work from home if you don't have an office, remember. Somebody who's licensed that can go put signs on the lawn, put lock boxes on the lawn, if absolutely necessary, can meet a buyer at a property, can write contracts, but is there as your assistant. So who can help you start building out the systems, train them. You're not going to be able to find somebody who's super good at that right off the bat without, being charged $80,000 a year.
100%.
So find somebody who's looking for a change, who might not be doing the best in real estate themselves, but has super outgoing personality and wants to be a licensed assistant. And then from there, you can learn and build the systems together.
Yeah.
And then bring on maybe an overflow buyer's agent that can transition to a buyer's agent. something like that. Start small. Start with your operations first.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I like that, and I think also going back to your first point, it's just like the finances are really important.
Yeah.
Like if you really want to, it's one thing to just say, do like a small team, but if you're looking to grow, like for somebody that is, say they're a smaller team and they are looking to grow and go to the next level, what would you say is, an important thing for them to like one of the most important things for them to look at to help them grow?
Well, if you're, what I see a lot of is agents who are doing okay, and then we'll team up with another agent who's doing okay, and so now you've got two partners trying to start a team, where it makes it very, very difficult to grow in that aspect because you started off with two equal parts. Where the way I did it was I started on the top with a licensed assistant below me who had obligations and responsibilities, and then we had agents under us, under me, but that was managed by her. Because why I can't start a team to manage other agents and still grow. So there's a good book, Who Not How. There's another book by Dan Martell called Buy Back Your Time, where if you're going into this with the goals to grow, you have to find your succession plan or exit plan. And I don't mean exit out of the business, exit, sell. What I mean is that you cannot physically grow if you're the one managing all the agents. It's too involved. You have to pull yourself out. You have to have growth opportunities for other agents. So setting it up from day one, who's going to do what, and have them specifically do that. That's what I would do.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's so much buckets. Like I once mapped out like all the different processes and things that happen in real estate, and there's so many buckets in terms of the different things, right? Coordinating the showings and all the different aspects of whatever it is, the buyer process, the listing process. There's just so much that goes into it. But really finding, and everybody's different. So finding the right people to match with the right tasks and parts of the business is really important.
It's key.
Yeah. Cool. So that's good. Let's see what I got here. Cool. Tell me how, like, you have a role with Revel, right? So what's the role there?
So I'm a director of recruitment.
Got it. Okay.
I hate that title. I don't like the word recruitment. I like, maybe director of attraction or something like that. The reason why is because at Revel, we obviously have systems and, lead generation, operational, strategies, let's say. But for the most part, we're letting our success speak for itself. And that's generating organic leads, yes, but it's generating more high quality leads. So by the time they get to me, I do sell them. I have a whole presentation, but I don't have to, force them to do anything or, through influence or manipulation. I'm just presenting everything that we offer, and they're like, sign me up. I already felt, because people have a feeling, and then the support and the values kind of come next.
Yeah. Right?
So when you've got a feeling, you can see that a brokerage works together, they've got great culture, their marketing's on point, you get what they're all about. All their agents seem to be consistent. By the time they get in front of you, it's basically already done.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you got in terms of recruitment and attraction, I kind of struggled with that too, because I for me it's recruitment. That's kind of like the basic term, HR, right?
Yeah,
they always use that term, but now it's kind of like a lot of companies are using the attraction aspect of it, and I don't know. I like the basic term of recruitment. It just makes sense. We're always trying to switch things up and make it different, but yeah, I get what you're saying in terms of not having to necessarily recruit people, but they're sort of coming to you, and that's kind of what you get from any brand, right? If you're a really good business, if you got a really good brand, then you're kind of attracting the right talent.
That's right.
And then you got the recruitment process.
We don't want to recruit somebody and have them sign up by by the way I've chosen my words and the way I've painted this amazing picture, just for them to sign up and realize that it wasn't for them, right? So we want to work with people who want to be here for 1 or 2, 3 years or more. There's no point. It's a waste of resources and investment to have them sign up on false pretenses, right? So that's how we've done it, and we're growing pretty quickly. And we've had 4 of the last 5 rookies of the year on our board, and our average agent sells 8 per year, where the Ontario average is only 3. So we're very, very invested, and people see that right off the bat.
That's really good. Yeah, those stats are really powerful. Tell me, how do you manage the stress and kind of the work-life balance of doing that, plus being a realtor, plus being a team leader? I know it comes with a lot of stress and a lot of just being available and that sort of thing. How do you manage that?
Well, I don't take any appointments past 4 p.m. and then I don't work weekends. So everything that I do on a daily basis has a spot in the schedule, and that's it. So I'd be lying if I said I had no stress, but day to day, it's just part of the job. Yeah, I manage it through time management, and I do it pretty well. So I don't have to be, worried about not getting something done at 5 o'clock at night or on a Sunday.
Got it. And that's amazing.
Yeah. And I don't even. I have all my admins have access to my emails. So I don't have to worry about, am I getting back to this person? Is this contract being written up? Is this any type of, the day-to-day stuff, let's call it that. I don't have to do any of that. So it's I meet you, great, let's have a conversation, perfect. After that, once you're gone, it gets pushed to somebody else who's going to complete the file. Yeah. So it's called a 10-80-10. I'm there for the first 10. My admin and director of ops or my VP of sales is there for the 80%. Then I come back in to finish up the last 10%.
Got it. That's really good. So tell me a bit maybe about your infrastructure, if you don't mind. How, if there's stuff going on in the evenings or in on the weekend, what does the support system look like for the team for that kind of stuff?
So like I said, it does go right to the admin phone. So whoever has the admin phone on the weekend, then from there we have basically a lead rotation list. So if it's a buyer inquiry, it just goes into the lead rotation list. If it's like an inquiry on one of our listings, it just gets directed either A, if it's an agent, to the listing agent, or B, if it's a lead, into the lead rotation. So there's somebody manning it at all times.
But what about for agents that may have some inquiries or may need some support?
Yeah, well, the agents are going to have to wait Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
That's it, eh?
Yeah.
That's it, okay.
If I feel like answering them on the weekend, I might. But the email goes to a different email, careers@rebelrealty.ca. So they know that if it's after hours, they're most likely not going to get a response.
Got it.
Yeah. And that's not to say that, if we don't see somebody who's super eager or has a 911, we're not going to look at it. But at the end of the day, most of the leads go through some type of pre-qualification process, just like a form basically where they got to fill out certain things. So they're not really expecting a phone call right away.
But I mean, the agents on your team, if they're dealing with a deal or something, is it the brokerage that's providing that support?
No, it's the team. Sorry, okay. So that's easy. We have multiple group messaging systems that are designed. Some are to track accountability. Some is just open forum, and then they can either call a peer or call Andrea or call Crystal, who's our leaders on the team, or if it's big enough, they call me.
Got it. Okay. So that's the infrastructure. You got the.
Oh yeah. There's definitely a pecking order based on how serious an issue is.
Yeah. And how important do you think it is to have some leaders on the team as opposed to just
Oh, it's super important. I implemented that right away.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things, is to have a few different people, maybe with different skill sets and different focuses.
And they run everything. So the recruiting meetings for our team, they're the first people who talk with the realtors.
Yeah.
So it sets the tone right from the very beginning that, okay, I don't even have the face of the brand. It just, everybody knows that I run it or own it. But once you get outside of that branding perception, it's very, very clear that I'm just here as a motivator. I'm here as, I run the meetings, Andrea technically runs the meetings, but I chime in. I do my morning emails to the team every day at 5 a.m. So they know I'm there and I'm available, but they know that the leaders on the team are the ones who are in control.
Yeah. And I think that's a critical part
of it. They'll try to sometimes go over their heads and be like, Andrew, I got this, thing. I was wondering if you could give me a discount, or wonder if you could consider this. Or like, nope. What did Crystal and Andrea say? They said no. I said, okay. So then there you go. If they find out that I said something that didn't align with our goals or systems, that I'd be in big trouble.
That's it. That's awesome. That's what I was kind of getting at is that infrastructure of support for the agents. I think it's good to have a few resources there. One of the things that I did, I spent a couple years. My whole thing when I got into the business was I wanted to. Pretty much, I was kind of determined to start my own brokerage eventually. Again, I had the marketing background, and I wanted to kind of create that complete life cycle journey for the client, and then look at how we can, build a brokerage out of that, just kind of with that entrepreneur mindset.
Of course.
So I spent 2 years kind of working on a brokerage model, and I think it had some pretty good elements, and essentially we're essentially doing most of it now at EXP. But the big thing, what do you think is the most important factors that a brokerage needs to maintain retention and growth? I think those are the biggest things for brokerages. Is having a system in place for retention and for growth. What do you think are key to that?
So that's why I ended up leaving Roy LePage in my first year to go to Revel.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
And I did that because Revel was on this growth path, and I knew that they were going to need some help. So, I saw somebody who was only in the business 2 years. Her name is Darcy Richardson, still with the company. She opened her office in Font Hill for Revel. I'm like, what the And, Darcy's much better than I am. I understand that. But if she can do it, I can do it. So I called them up. Well, they called me up. And, we set up appointments. And I go to some of their events. And I'm just infatuated with them. And then I said, look, if I make this move, what are the opportunities of me getting my own office in Niagara-on-the-Lake? He said, very high. How do we even make this happen? Let's work on it together. And then fast forward a year and a bit later, I have my own office. And then I have my own office in Muskoka. So not just saying that there's growth opportunities, but actually backing it up by providing those opportunities. So that's good for growth. But Revel has an actual growth plan. So you start off as an agent, try to get you that Rookie of the Year if you can. There's still a lot of competition there, and then you become a mentor once you've hit a certain sales, like a total GCI, I think it's 150K, and then from there you go to a head coach. Head coach is like your brokerage manager kind of thing. However, all the offices are corporately owned, so they're called a head coach. And then from there, there's other roles within the company that I basically created the director of recruiting role because. At the time, they didn't have anybody, and Ryan and Nikki were still meeting with everybody. I'm like, guys, you can't meet with everybody. I'm like, let me take this off your plate. So it's about being innovative and open to ideas, which is, I think, the biggest thing that contributes to offering growth as a let's call it carrot or whatever. Now, the other thing would be retention. How do you keep retention? It's one thing to have a training program. It's another to be super involved in that program and be consistently developing it. What I mean by that is we actually have a department called Revel Ed. So all of our first years, it's mandatory for them to go through it. By the time they come out of it, their second year is all about implementing everything they've learned. And by the third year, you should easily be making over 150K. And if not, then maybe it's not something that we've done, but it's something that maybe the agent, didn't commit to. Because that's why we have a 2-year contract. It's because we invest so much. We have full corporate staff. We have a director of growth. We have a GM. We have a director of onboarding. We have all of these support pillars that are there for you at your beck and call. So that's how we, provide retention for all of our offices, is that it's a universal education continuing plan that the agents can access at any time.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, so the way the education is formatted is that basically, if you're not successful after 2 years of doing it, then you're probably not built for the business.
Yeah. Basically, I mean, just because of the pure value that you get within those first 2 years, it's kind of a no-brainer for any agent, right, to take advantage of.
Yeah. And I guess it's like has some live trainings and things like that part of it, or
it's all live.
Yeah.
Every week. Yep. We have 4 massive events as well every year. We have our Revel tip-off, then we have our charity ball. We don't have any awards. It's the same people winning the same awards over and over and over. What's the point? So, the real estate industry kind of is well known for tapping themselves on the back, right? So what we do is, we all get dressed up and we just raise a whole bunch of money for our local charities. So we do that, and then we have our magazine launch. We put out a magazine every year, and then after that we have our Christmas party. So it's those 4, touching our agents every quarter, and just, providing that strong culture that, people want to be a part of something. Even though they're independent contractors, they want to be a part of something.
Yeah.
That's why what I've noticed about EXP too is that they've gone so much further from just a recruiting company to now attracting some of the best in the business, because what people don't understand, and the same thing with Revel, is that if you're bringing people on that aren't selling, what the fuck is the point? EXP, you don't get paid if they're not hitting their numbers.
It doesn't make sense to be at EXP if you're not selling. It's just
exactly.
Exactly.
So
sense.
Now you're recruiting quality.
You have to.
And that's how Revel. Sure, could we have grown to 5,000 people in the last 10 years? Sure, but we've grown to 400, and they're all high quality realtors.
Yeah.
Right. So I see the similarities in both companies in terms of just attracting quality people.
Yeah. When I was kind of thinking about, starting my own brokerage, and I came across EXP, it was, I asked myself, I'm like, just understanding the model and how it works, and I don't know how familiar you are with it, but I said, can I give this value? That was the biggest thing, is like, can I, replicate this value to my agents?
Yeah.
Can every single agent in my organization and in my brokerage, can I give them this opportunity and all these different things that come with it? And that was kind of the decision factor for me. I was like, I'm not going to be able to do that for the next 20 years. They were opening up in Poland when I came on, and I'm like, when am I going to open in Poland? With my own brokerage, right? So I'm like, it's just too much of a feat. So that's why I made the decision. I said, you know what, like, if I can give every agent an opportunity not only to be a independent contractor, obviously on the real estate side, but now be an owner, be a shareholder, and really, like, it's a fair slate for everyone, right? There's nobody has an advantage or anything like that. It's just everybody has the same opportunities. If you want to become a team leader, if you want to become a broker, owner, or whatnot, you want to grow your brokerage, we all have the same opportunity. It starts at day one. In terms of being able to take advantage of all those things. So that was kind of the biggest thing for me in terms of making that decision.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's got to work. It's if you're just in it for yourself, it really doesn't work, right? So how do you find a system or a supportive operation that benefits everybody, from your admins to your agents, right? What can they, if they leave the industry, by choice or whatever, what can they take with them? Which is a big thing that people don't understand. With most real estate companies, you're leasing your business, and then when it's done, it's done. You don't take anything. As an owner, when it's done, you get to take stuff with you.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the biggest thing, I think, for real estate agents, that I never really thought about it because you get into this industry, you're just
sales.
gun home about sales. Yeah, but yeah, like you then run into agents that are in that retirement bracket.
Yeah,
and it's like, damn, they're starting at zero every year still, and unless obviously like I always say the best thing you can do is invest in real estate. That's the number one thing is invest in some real estate, and then that could be your retirement plan.
Yeah.
But if that's not the case or whatnot, and if that's not substantial enough, it's there's no other retirement plan. So
no.
I think having something where you can build on that and have some retirement opportunity and
I agree.
be able to attain stock and all that, it's significant.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Let's talk about tech stack, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Just interested, like, again, I've done a lot of research on the tech. We've built some of our own software. I'm always looking at, like, is there gaps in the process, in the industry? Mm-hmm. There's so much softwares. It's like overwhelming sometimes, right? Yeah. When you're probably using a bunch of stuff, and is it integrated? Is it not? It's there's a lot of stuff always going on, and I find sometimes in this business it's like keeping it simple makes more sense than just focusing on some of the key business elements is probably the smartest thing to do, and not get too sucked into the tech. But I do think that finding efficiencies, like we're looking at building out some efficiencies, and it's like, if I can save my admin an hour or two a day, what does that mean in a year if I have X amount of deals and whatnot, and all that kind of stuff, and just being able to convert at a higher rate and everything like that. Tell me about sort of like what kind of tech stack, if you don't mind sharing, whatever tools you're using, or if you see any gaps kind of in the industry from a tech perspective.
Honestly, with us, like at the team level, we keep it fairly simple. Yeah. Follow-up boss, agent locator. That's it. We just keep it super simple.
Super simple.
At the brokerage level, you have KV Core, you have your own website, you have your own CRM, you have Slack, you have Studio HQ, which is a storytelling platform that attaches to your website or whatever, or your listing. We have leading real estate companies in the world. We have Luxury Portfolio International. We have Next One, Broker Bay. We have all these things. Yeah. And it's good for the admin side of things, but I think to effectively run a sales team, especially in this day and age, all you need is Follow-Up Boss. They have everything, man. They have their campaigns. They have dashboards where you can see where you are, where you want to go based on your goals, and it's very easy to understand. You can assign. It's just.
I don't think people realize how powerful Follow-Up Boss is.
Yeah.
Like, it's like there's some crazy things you can do in there, and just.
Well, and their support is great too. Yeah. And whereas, like, I know our brokerage is a KV Core brokerage, so is EXP right now.
We're in the same boat. We got KV Core brokerage and we got Follow-Up Boss on the team.
KV Core sucks. Like, in my opinion, at a team level, right? As a solo agent, and that's not to say, I mean, we have Kate Broderick, who's the #1 agent for 7 years. She's killing it on KV Core, right? She's loving it. Yeah. But as a solo agent, yes, it's very, very, very easy to use.
KV Core is great for solo.
You upload your listings. It pulls it directly from the IDX, and then you can essentially promote it right to your Instagram and Facebook. It's easy. Build landing pages. It's easy. Yeah. From a team perspective, Follow-Up Boss is just so much more user-friendly and has so much more options. And if something goes wrong, you have a really good support system. What I found with KV Core is their support system kind of sucked.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think I can't knock KV Core for a solo agent. Yeah, I think it's a great tool. At the end of the day, you got guys killing it in real estate with their iPhone directory. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I got still people that use a pen and paper.
So KV Core is an amazing base software. We have it for free at our brokerage. Yeah, so it's like. And I know when I was joined, I got on a phone call with KV Core, and I'm like, it's $5.99. You know what I mean? Yeah. For the base software. For the one that
USD.
For USD. So it's like $700. So, for us, it's like that justifies the $150 a month. Right there. Like you're up for $450. So, I think it's a great tool for a solo agent, but yeah, for the team,
Yeah.
the accountability, the tracking, you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with that. Yeah, it's and then follow up boss is yeah,
it's just such a
extremely
beast,
powerful.
right?
Yeah, once you start using it, and all that, it's big. I know you do a lot of referral business, right? And you kind of built a good amount of your business from referrals with other agents.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
What's the secret to, you know, maintaining those relationships with agents, but then and also their clients, like, you know, yeah.
So you know what? I used to get so anxious about what are we supposed to do for our referring agents? Like, do we throw a party? Are they going to come? Is that valuable? You know, do we send them handwritten notes? But what I found is, and we've done all that, is what I found the best way to keep these agents happy is to provide so much value for their clients that, you know, when they check in with their client, because they're going to, their client's like, man, Andrew Perrie, the Fine Estates team, my experience has been so amazing so far. I can't believe everything that they do for us. It's a complete white glove service. That's the best way to maintain and retain your referral business. And also, people, you know, take it too nonchalantly. Like, there's opportunities everywhere. And so, you know, if it's coming on a referral group and says, hey, I'm looking for somebody in Burlington, you just say, oh yeah, hi, John, call me, 905-380-1158. What? Nobody's going to call you. They're asking to send business to you. So I always pick up the phone, I email them, I text them, I send them a DM, and I call their brokerage or page them. Nobody else is doing that. And that shows them how hard I'm willing to work for their business and for the client. So, and then you have to follow through with actually doing it.
Yeah.
You know? Which is the biggest complaint that we hear.
That's a fair point. And I think just those doing those things, making those 4 touch points, you know, and I think the little things go a long way sometimes, you know, like, you know, you like you said, you might just put a response in whatever with the phone number, and I see it all the time. It's, you know, we had I was following up with an agent on something, and I was trying to get some information on a property, and I forget what it was, but the response, I was like, you know, is it still available, and something. He's like, yes, it's available. And it was just like nothing more, like he wasn't selling nothing. And it's just, I think those little bits of effort go a long way in terms of showing how hard you're willing to work for business, and not only in that case when you're trying to get referral business, but just for earning business from clients. Like, you know, having a process in place where, you know, you're doing the follow-up and you're doing the touch points and all that is really important. Yeah,
absolutely. And, you know, and really showing the value by, like, for example, we had a listing agent that was just a dud on a property that we were offering on. And by the end of it, we were getting these things back. I'm like, dude, did you even read this offer? He's like, no. My seller is like in real estate. I'm like, wait, so your seller wrote this clause? He's like, yeah. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense, dude. So what we ended up having to do was write the seller's response for him. And then we signed it as a buyer, right? So we sent it back to them, he signed it, they signed it back to us. So it's like, most agents would have just said, this is ridiculous, I'm not working with you. But we had to come up with solutions to get this deal done because it was super, super important. You know, we almost had another one where the buyer wanted to walk away because there's shingles missing. The seller wasn't going to do anything. And I know this is like, I don't throw in my commission just willy-nilly, but it's like, okay, look, let me get a guy out there to quote it. Let me see how much it is. Okay, wow, you can get this done for $1,000. I'll take care of it. You guys go ahead and move forward with the purchase, right? A lot of agents aren't willing to do that. And it's just about finding solutions. You know, we've once had to pay for a seller to ship their car from Ontario to Nova Scotia. I'm like, okay, how can we get this done? Well, we need to move to Nova Scotia, and this deal is just not looking good. Okay, well, what's the main hiccup here? Well, how, like, for one, closing costs. How are we going to get all our crap out there, you know, then pay our agents and then do this? And I said, okay, well, why don't we take care of shipping your car out? They're like, really? I said, yeah. And I said, okay, fine. It was $1,200.
Yeah.
Saved a deal.
That's it. I think that's probably one of the most important parts of doing the business a deal could go sour like that. Like it can go bad at any given time. And if you're not on it, and if you're not managing it, and if you're not, there when something, where there's a hiccup, and sometimes it's so small. It's one piece of advice. It's one, doing a little bit of research and just kind of explaining something sometimes, right?
Yeah.
The art of making that deal happen is really, I think, one of the most important roles that we play, right? Because if two people are trying to make a deal happen, there's so much that can go wrong, right? And there's so much interpretations and things, and I think,
and I guarantee you, 5 years from now, you ask that buyer who had that hiccup, say, hey, were you happy that we got you the house? Are you still happy in your house? Andrew, thank God. I'm really happy that you were able to make me see that this is what we wanted.
Yeah.
Because in the heat of the moment, people can back away out of a deal for something so small.
Mm-hmm.
And if every deal was easy, they wouldn't need us. So that's why we're here, to find those solutions. Yeah.
And it's like the impact of those purchases and bringing those deals together is so huge, so significant.
I agree.
On people's lives. It's wild. So it's I never take it for granted as to what it is we do in terms of the process.
Absolutely.
I know I listened to on one of your podcasts. You mentioned you did an investment property at some point. Tell me a little bit about that, and then tell me what kind of opportunities you're seeing now from like an investment perspective.
Oh man, we're like some of the first people to ditch their properties were investors. They're like, okay, this is my because most investors are on a variable rate, right? Or private money.
Mm-hmm.
So once the rates go up, that eats into their cash flow right away. So they're the first people that put their properties up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when they do that, especially when it's spread, of course, over a year or two, pricing starts going down and down, where the rents are still going up. Okay, so yeah, it might suck. Get yourself into a 7 or 8% for now, and then renegotiate in a couple years. But the overall value, the money is made in the purchase, right? So seeing for all those investors out there, if you're not out there buying right now, I don't know what you're doing. Even if the rates hold forever, even go up over the next 10 years, your property value is still going to go up. We still have a shortage of inventory.
100%.
People are still going to need a place to live, especially for a rental. So if you're an investor, get yourself out there right now. I mean, my property I bought in the height of COVID for $925, 10,000 square feet, 4 residential units, 2 commercial units. One commercial unit was being lived in, so I had to kick them out. Now I gave 6 months for free to the commercial tenant that's in there, and they did all the renovations themselves. And then once the renovations were done, they started paying rent. I got one tenant out who was not paying for 12 months, and now I got a new tenant in. Now it's making $7,000 a month. So it's like the investment world, and I'm still on private money, by the way. Yeah, so that's a big thing too. Trying to get the commercial mortgage is a little difficult on those bigger mixed-use properties. But having said that, the deals are still there, and they're happening now more than ever.
Yeah. We've been actively looking at Niagara opportunities from a multi-residential and commercial perspective, but what do you see as, is that kind of the opportunity that you see, like a mixed use or a fourplex or like a higher density? What's, like right now, like I know there's deals everywhere, like right now is the time to buy, but call it, a couple million, 1 to 2 million. Like what's the opportunity for an investor right now, or less, like if there is opportunities?
Well, we're seeing there's still a lot. What the cool thing about millennials and what do you call it, Gen Z or whatever, there's a lot of entrepreneurial culture.
100%.
And there's a lot of people that still believe in brick and mortar. So I mean, getting yourself a plaza for under $2.5 million, $2 million right now is super doable in Niagara.
That's interesting.
Right, gas stations are going for between 3 and 6, and $500,000 in 500 grand in profit basically a year, right? So it's it's an interesting time to get into the commercial space. Now, mixed use is just one of my favorites, depending on the town as well. Because some towns, especially in the smaller towns like Port Colborne, for instance, they have different zoning and bylaws in place that you can add on to the building. You can blow out the square footage. You can say it's just not as restricted, and especially in these smaller towns like Waynfleet, Port Colborne, Fort Erie. They're dying for you to bring in, new and hip places, things that are going to attract people.
Yeah.
So they're a little bit more lenient. So going out there is just such a big opportunity. And another thing too is that in COVID, everybody thought Niagara was Niagara. You move to Fort Erie, you move to Welland, you move to Waynfleet, it's all the same as Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, which is not true. St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, Niagara-on-the-Lake were always the highest, in Font Hill, right? So all the outlining towns that still are great for rentals, they're back down, 20-30% versus the rest of Niagara, because that's where they should have always been.
Yeah.
Right? And now you're also seeing good deals there because I'm seeing people walking away from money because they overpaid.
Yeah.
That's the thing too, is that they used an out-of-town agent, which there's nothing wrong with that, but you use an out-of-town agent, a part-time agent, and they're saying, oh yeah, well this in Toronto would be $2 million, so grab it for $800, it's a steal. Right? Where now they can't get the rents to cover the mortgage, now their mortgage has gone up, now the value's gone down by $200,000.
Yeah. I know when I was doing the statistics this past year, it's like Niagara got hit the hardest, I found, from like the Toronto markets and even these markets in Hamilton and Burlington. So Niagara's on sale.
Yeah, it really is.
From the peaks, right?
Yeah.
And I think, like those opportunities where maybe you're able to, I'm always looking at like how can you add value to a property, but if you can add some density, increase rents and things like that, I think there's a ton of opportunity, especially like you're saying, I guess, with some of these municipalities, like with the new regulations around
more flexibility.
Adding home, like adding more units and things like that. Like I find some of the towns may be more open to that.
That's right.
In terms of the new legislations.
Absolutely, man. Like homelessness is on the rise.
Yeah.
So if we can get anybody an affordable unit.
What I've been thinking about is I really want to do a documentary on the housing crisis, and I want to document what's going on with all the immigrants that are coming in. You know what I mean? And really figure out like what is the situation, because there really is a housing crisis, and people don't realize it. Like,
I agree.
We had one listing where it was a house that we were listing, but it had like 15 people living in it, and I think they were refugees from Ukraine at that time. But there's a serious housing crisis going on, and a lot of times we don't realize it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anything that you can create more housing right now, I think there's just a huge opportunity. But you're also solving a problem, right? Which is
of
great.
course.
Yeah. Tell me, like, let's say a new agent that just got into the industry, or been in the industry for a while, struggling right now. Like a lot of agents are struggling, right? And they're kind of maybe they're thinking of getting a part-time job or a full-time job, but they have what it takes, but they're struggling. What would you tell them in this market?
It's real estate doesn't have to be as complicated as people think. A lot of people, the reason why they don't succeed in real estate is because they have some type of inferior. How do you say that word? Inferior. How do you say it? I can't think. Anyway, I always call it imposter syndrome, right? Where it's like they have this complex that they feel that they're not good enough or worthy enough for to handle somebody's biggest and largest investment of all time. They're, to help them with their financial decisions, because maybe they just got into the industry fairly easy, 6 months, right? Doctor takes you 10, 12 years, lawyers are 10 years. Whereas we're in that same realm as those 4 pillars of helping the average person. And so what that does is that it stops people or makes them feel uncomfortable from picking up the phone. And they're not confident in explaining why is now a good time to buy, why is now a good time to sell. And so they're just not confident in making those phone calls or, you know, having them with conviction, which is a big thing. Because if I knew that as soon as these rates start going down even just a little bit, that the market's going to kick up again, and I didn't tell you about that, I could have lost one of my clients 100, 200 grand, right? Whereas had I had the confidence to explain that on the phone or in person, I could have got them into the market before the rates changed and before everything went crazy. I had a lot of people, you know, come in and out of the market, in and out of the industry over the last few years, and it's just simply because they couldn't find clients. Obviously, right? But it's just like, if I said, you need to go make one more deal, or I'm taking your house away, taking your kid away, taking your car away, whatever, could you go find that deal? And each one of them said, yeah. I'm like, how'd you do it? Like, I just go stop everybody I see in the street and just try to educate them about the market and see if we can make a move. I said, okay, so why aren't you doing that now? Well, that's not what I got into real estate for. I said, okay, well then you don't have to be in real estate anymore. If you're not willing to do these, to have these types of conversations, and as many of them as possible per day, then real estate isn't for you. Yeah.
I think the calls are important, but I think the conviction piece you mentioned is a big part of it.
Yeah.
You know, being able to really...
Inferiority complex, by the way.
Inferiority complex.
That's what I was trying to say.
That's a big one. I don't even know what that means, but yeah. But that conviction is important. Really, you know, understanding the client situation, understanding the market, and being having conviction behind the recommendation or whatever, you know, whatever
creating
path
urgency.
Whatever path you're trying to lead them down. I think that's important.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. That's good. Let's talk about, like, from a team perspective. Let's say, for instance, you had $5,000 right now to spend on the team. What do you think would be the most fruitful way to utilize that money, from a marketing perspective, from an operations perspective? What do you think is the most important, most valuable use of marketing dollars for a real estate team? So,
right off the bat, what I would do is, if I knew there was some type of home show or some type of event within the community that you could set up a booth, I would use that money, a portion of it, to get a good booth in a good location, and I would take the rest in building, a creative campaign that brings people to the booth and gets them thinking and say, hey, that was a good booth. Because the idea, you're never, regardless of what your lead gen strategy is, nobody's necessarily going to be buying right away. So it always has to be a long-term play. And if you consistently do that, then now the wheels are turning, leads are coming in on a good cycle, right? So that's what I would do. For example, we have the Niagara-on-the-Lake Home Show. We got 2 booths. We put a staging setup where we do family photos. Come here, sit your kids down, we'll take a photo, we'll email you the photos. There's one idea. The other side of it is that we have a big wheel, and you just spin the wheel. Every time you spin, you get your name into a draw for a grand prize. What each pie says on the wheel doesn't really matter. 2 extra draws, a free hat, a free sucker. All that matters is that you're getting the client's information in an engaging way. And you'd be surprised if you go to any event and you walk home with 100, 200, 500 leads, you'd be surprised how many of those actually transact in the next 6 to 12 months.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So the event side.
Yeah.
The event side, engaging the community.
It's just the best way. Go somewhere where people are going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like, when we say talk to more people, that's basically the same thing.
Exactly.
It's just a way of facilitating that in an engaging way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I was with LA Fitness, I teamed up with a grocery store and just stood outside the grocery store. I offered them a free membership for 6 months to the general manager, and I set up in front of the store. Hundreds of people walked by every single day.
Yeah. That's it.
I literally stood on a corner with a flag, waving the flag just to bring people in,
That's it for LA Fitness.
Yeah. Yeah. I got those same shark fins for our open house signs too.
That's it. Yeah. That's what you got to do. I like that. I love that, man. What do you like? A lot of things happening. A lot of things happening. I feel like in the real estate space right now. We got the Tressa. You know, I feel like I think from a brokerage standpoint, there's a lot of changes happening. Like I think this idea of, you know, being able to be an owner and own stock and be able to take part of the growth of a company. I think from a brokerage standpoint, that's becoming a big factor. A lot of obviously the market's changing. A lot of different changes happening. Where do you kind of see this all going in terms of, you know, where we talked about sort of, you know, the lawsuits and all that, but I don't want to get into that stuff because I think, you know, that's a long shot. But like, where do you see kind of the market and kind of the industry going?
I think teams are going to become the new brokerages. I really do.
I think so.
And I think that what a brokerage can offer you overall is going to be overshadowed by what a team can offer you.
Yeah.
And I feel that, you know, because that's what a brokerage used to be. Essentially, it was just one big team. Mm-hmm. And then now the teams are here and they're just kind of upping their game. There's just kind of a natural role for the brokers or the brokerages to kind of take a back seat. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Mm-hmm. So like between your average brokerage that is just like, do we really need this office? You know, the team office just opened up down the road. Mm-hmm. Everybody's kind of going there. Yeah. Right. So it's an interesting time. Yeah. Definitely a big disruption. Yeah. RE/MAX is, you know, always held strong. Will they adapt to something like EXP? I think they're going to be forced to some degree, because I think EXP is going to completely just take over, or Real, one of those two companies that, you know, is just going to be absorbing the bigger and bigger and bigger teams and brokerages. They're getting rid of independent brokerages left, right, and center. Yeah. So I think that's going to be big, or those smaller independent brokerages that act collectively as a team, because at the end of the day, I don't think anybody's like, and I mean this generalized, of course. It's like, okay, I'm not joining EXP. I'm joining the Fine Estates team. I'm joining Rob Golfi. Yeah. I'm joining, you know, Justin Harvey, right? Where it's I'm joining Affinity, you know, where it's like it used to be like, hey, yes, I'm excited. I just joined RE/MAX. I just joined Century 21, and I'm really, really excited. Yeah. And then you go through the doors, and there's no support.
The brokerage is almost becoming irrelevant.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
The brokerage is in some sense, is obviously every brokerage is different and different value adds and propositions, but in a sense, in terms of like that team having that you know, that foundation, I think the brokerage is becoming a little irrelevant, and I think the value proposition is becoming a little different. Yeah. You know, in terms of you know, what is the opportunity, and what is, you know, how can you essentially, you know, build a team, you know, under that brokerage, and what you know, what does that look like, and you know, the biggest thing that I found, you know, running a team, and maybe you can relate to it again on that retention piece, is, you know, you put your heart into somebody, you give them, you know, you build their business for the first couple of years, and a lot of people will argue, and that's why we've kind of created this multi-tier team model, and I'd love to share with you one day, but you know, a lot of agents will leave the team after 2 to 3 years, right? Because it's like you get the knowledge, you build your brand, you get some clients, and then so it's I find it's hard to retain agents for a long period of time on a team, especially if it's an aggressive split. So we've come up with an interesting model where you know, based on production, different things happen, and there's always a value add where you could be making 500 to $1 million production, and it still makes sense to be on a team.
Yes, of course.
So I think that's one factor to consider. But what I was saying is Sure. Forgot what I was saying there for a second. Yeah. Yeah, I just lost my train of thought there for a second.
Well, I think basically where you're going with it is that because I've experienced it too.
Retention, sorry. That's what
right,
I
got
caught up in the team model because the team model is so complex. I started thinking about it because it's pretty, but then I was talking about retention.
But like it's the same thing. Like you work so hard and you provide so much value, and you know, like our average agent costs us like $4,000 a month. You know, and that's on average. That's like not.
That's the team.
Yeah. Basically to have them, right? So it's like, when they leave and they didn't really do that well, you're out all this money.
100%.
Right? And then they go and join somebody else or go somewhere else, and it's like, for one, that sucks, but two, how can we still keep them in our umbrella? Because we're the ones that brought them here. We're the ones that worked our asses off. And just to be recruited by another team within the same brokerage or something like that, you know what I mean? It's like, or another office, it just doesn't make sense. So finding solutions for that is going to be key for retention, but also incentivizing. So what we do is like, we don't do like, oh, here's a spa package, here's a vacation to Blue Mountain. What we do is like, here's an hour with our business coach, here's your own business coach, here's $5,000 towards lead generation, here's this or here's that, right? So it's something that's consistently improving the salesperson's business and makes sense to keep them motivated and excited to be on a team.
Yeah, I'd love to show you our team model one day because I think we appreciate it. I ran a team for 5 years. My partner, he ran it for a few years as well, and we kind of took all that and said, okay, what makes sense?
Yeah,
and we built out the team model. But the other factor that I was trying to get at in terms of retention is, for us, it's like, if I bring somebody on the team, I want them to build their team in 2 years and grow.
Yes,
and that's what the EXP model really allows.
Yeah.
And kind of, it provides that opportunity where I want to help people be the best entrepreneur they can be and help them build their team. That's why we're kind of building this Powered by New Street infrastructure. So now it's like, this is our team, and I want to give it to every other team, and I want to help people build their team. And
That's right.
and it's like, I never had that at the other brokerages, and you know what I mean? 'Cause when somebody leaves your team, it's like, that's it. It's all kind of, there's no ongoing incentive to do that. So I just thought, like, again, when I was thinking about opening a brokerage and all that, it was like, there's a lot of things you don't think about when you're kind of getting into business, even as a team leader or whatnot, or even with some of these brokerages. But you got to kind of look at all the different angles, and I think Glenn Sanford just did a really good job of like thinking through the model.
Because that was the first thing I thought of when I started a team. I'm like, I'm going to train these people so good that it would almost be offensive if they didn't leave and start their own team.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I'm having that thought from the beginning, I'm aware that things are going to shift, right?
And you never want to be like, I don't want you to do that.
Right? Exactly.
Like, I love entrepreneurs. I want people to be, the best version of themselves and kill it and have all the opportunities that I have. Like, I don't want to have opportunities that, that any one of my team members can't have, right? I want to build them up to be even better.
I agree.
Yeah. So that was one of the key factors. But anything else you see kind of, any other insights in terms of where the industry's going?
I think you're like, I worked 10 times harder at LA Fitness trying to sell a $35 a month membership that made me $20. I worked much harder at that job than I did at sales. And I'm talking about like $1 per hour kind of thing in real estate. The opportunity is there. It's just a lot of people are too lazy to take advantage of it.
It's simple.
I know this like the last few years have been online leads, call 10,000 and sell 1,000 a year as a big team, and everybody completely forgot how to talk to people. Like, you know what I mean? It's like everybody's videotaping their cold calls. I'm like, that's That's great, and that's fantastic. But real estate's a little bit different. Real estate is more of they're allowing to you in their personal lives. So just coming from a place of understanding, but also just a strong conviction that they need to work with you, or they're going to lose a shit ton of money.
Yeah, one of the big components of the brokerage model that I came up with was like a charitable component that's built into the business.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's really important, like, in terms of the community and
absolutely
and giving back and doing something in that shape. I think that is going to be, critical for whatever, if it's a team or brokerage in terms of growing.
We give a lot of that. We contribute a lot to charity, and not only do we donate to the charity, but we'll volunteer and be a part of it, right? It's about being seen and being out there and actually getting your hands dirty.
Yeah. I love that, man.
Yeah, man.
Andrew Perrie, my man.
Thanks,
Thank
buddy.
you for coming through, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Big bump at the end, man. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Absolutely, buddy.
Good chat.